I loves the internet.
Elon Musk. Right now, on this planet, there are at least 3 different people who all have a tremendous impact on the world, and all of them are Elon Musk. So it's quite likely that I will make more videos about him. But this time I will focus on SpaceX Elon. SpaceX Elon sounds like a cool name for a superhero, and it's no surprise that there are people out there who think that he's some kind of superhuman being, somewhere between the real Tony Stark and the second coming of Jesus. But what if I told you that it is not a miracle that someone like Elon exists in our time and day, and that instead his existence is inevitable? What I'm talking about here is that there are hundreds, thousands, even hundreds of thousands of highly intelligent, highly educated people out there who want to make really good electrical cars or build a flourishing colony on Mars within their lifetimes. What those people needed was one person at the right place at the right time. One person that all those other people could gather around to become a powerful group and make their dreams a reality. So, Elon Musk is an amazing person and I love him. But like the X-Men, SpaceX is not just that one person. It's a group of people with Elon Musk at its heart. And they will get us to Mars and back within the next 20 years, just in time before the AIs will take over. So, that's it. But you all know about this already, don't you? Well, you would be surprised how many people outside the English sphere haven't even heard about Elon. For example, here in Germany. It's mind-blowing and a little bit depressing. Up to the point that I'm asking myself what the heck I'm doing here. I should make this video in German. Well, doesn't really matter. It's early 2017 now, and the language barrier won't last another 5 years. So I can really do this in any language I like. Because what I really want to do is talking about my own crazy ideas. Create some original content, you know. So please stick around, for this is something you probably haven't heard anywhere else before. Like, this is a typical astronaut, right? As you can see, 40% of his body weight is made up by his legs. And I'm not sure if you've heard about this, but legs are pretty useless in space. So if you cut them off, your astronauts become about 40% lighter. This not only means that you need less fuel to carry them around, it also reduces the chance of getting cancer as well as risks associated with zero gravity, like muscle atrophy, bone atrophy, to name just a few. The spacesuits can be smaller and less complex, and the relative strength of the arms in relation to the rest of the body is increased. If your spaceship has a rotating section to create spin gravity, you can cut the necessary diameter in half, because the inhabitant's body length is also cut in half. You have to understand that a spaceship that is designed to transport humans is essentially built around these humans and their needs. Life support, crew quarters, food supplies, recycling, clothing, etc. They all add to the total mass that needs to be transported through space, and that in turn increases the size of the engine, the amount of fuel necessary, the size of the protective hull, everything. So when you reduce the body mass of the crew by 40%, you can reduce the size of the spaceship by 40%, and thus the overall cost of the operation by 40%. Or you can send a larger crew. Instead of sending 6 people with the legs, you can send 10 people without legs. Obviously, that's a severe simplification. For example, the human brain is only 2% of the body's mass, but consumes about 20% of the energy. So you might not come up with 40% savings, but even if it's 30%, that's still pretty significant, right? But what happens once the astronauts have landed on Mars? Well, at that point, they will receive a pair of fancy robot legs. The gravity on Mars is less than half of Earth's gravity, so make no mistake, that will take ages to get used to. So using robot legs specifically adjusted to that kind of low gravity environment might actually make it easier for you. Well, it's hard to imagine that humans would agree to have their healthy legs amputated. But if this allows you to fly to Mars, where you get a pair of awesome artificial legs, doesn't sound so bad to me anymore. Unless those legs somehow compel you to shoot your girlfriend through a closed door. But I don't think that's an empirically proven fact. Okay, I admit it. That's a pretty provocative idea. And of course, it's actually meant to emphasize the fact that sooner or later we are going to transform our space travelers. Let's face it, a natural biological human is just not made for the harsh environments of space. And to assume that we are going to spend more than half of our spaceflight budget just to construct highly vulnerable bubbles of Earth-like environments throughout the solar system and beyond, that's just foolish. How often do we see science fiction movies where people are blown out into space through a hole in their spaceship and just die? It's ridiculous. If their bodies were fully adapted to the vacuum, nothing bad would happen to them. There are still enough dangers in space travel when you consider the extremely high speeds and energies and the enormous volume of empty space. But nobody should just die because there's a stupid hole in the side of their ship. So, I'm actually surprised that nobody has come up with this idea yet. It's one of the first things I would mention. Remember when they decided to remove the chairs from the moon lander? Removing the legs of people going to Mars is essentially the same idea. Sure, there might be millions of arguments against it, but I haven't even heard anyone bring the idea to the table in the first place. On the other hand, there's a certain probability that super AI will take over before we have fully colonized the solar system. So maybe now is our only chance to send a group of genuine humans from the Earth to the surface of Mars and back. Not because it's the most logical thing to do, but as one last act of defiance towards the coming generations of space-traveling transhumans. Look at us. We actually made it to Mars. Maybe that's what Elon has in mind. Still, fragging expensive in your loader. Well, that's that. Please like and share, and good speed to all of you.